Uh, yep. Hello. It is, ship. Uh, so something's, shoot. Cat's coming over. Yeah, something has come up during the development of Meld. Oh, don't know what's happened there. Oh yeah, hold on, I gotta reset the... Do I leave this part in? Yeah, I'll leave it in. Yeah, there we go. So something's come up in the development of Meld, which I think I'm not sure how applicable this is to other mod creators, but I think it's something that can be learned from. So I started, uh, honestly, I don't know if I'll be editing this video, but yeah, God, it's like the school holidays. I'm gonna wing it. So I've had a campaign for Meld out that had 4 sectors in its demo, and here's the thing about this. When you have gameplay out, when you release a demo, people are gonna have expectations. Maybe it's gonna be like on a scale of 1 to something, because it's honestly unquantifiable. But you can feel the effects. People are going to play the first sector, they're gonna be like, oh wow, first impression, cool. They're gonna have some expectation. Maybe it'll be high, maybe your first sector's not very large. For my first sector, I dumped a total of 4 items and 2 fluids on people, along with basically the entire arsenal of blocks that you're going to be using for some later sectors. You have nullifiers, you have sunders, you have the entire slick logistics, the new bit. So I think people's expectations were like up here on the scale of who the heck knows. Scrapyard comes around. This is like the defense map. You have like your enemies coming in. You have some Gillas. I replaced the brakes with Gillas. So yeah, now there's combat mechanics. People's expectations are going to be like up here. Difficulty spike inbound. These 2 maps are BS. I did not realize how difficult Hedge and Ruins would be until I played them. And I was like, cool, people like this. I think people's expectations were like here maybe. And so what I have now is I have people who've played this mod that's focused around like you build sunders. Sorry. Yeah, cat's getting off the desk. You build sharks. You scout. Wow, this is really it's very simple, it's very solid. So what then? What did I do with that expectation? Yeah, problem. Even though I revamped the campaign, even though I like fully reset with the gameplay style. This is Resurgence, by the way. Uh, those expectations did not go away. The people's past experience and the meta knowledge was still like up here sometimes when I wanted the skill to be like this. And I think this shows that this approach of developing a mod, getting demos out, offloading a lot of content, it has its pros and it's got its cons. The pros are, look how different this sector is compared to Creek. Creek is like this. Sorry, yeah, game crashes when I go into it, because of some weird objective stuff. But Creek was not that impressive, and it still set a standard of gameplay. Now, I go into Resurgence. This is gonna be a spoiler for people who haven't played the mod, but I don't know who's gonna play this and complain about it. You know what, if you do not like me spoiling the entirety of a sector, I guess you can tell me the thread. Yeah, different gameplay style, literally parkour mechanics and mindustry. I don't know what to say. This is like a full reset from earlier. But, problem. People are not used to doing this. You know what people are used to? Boop, boop, boop. It not even being damaged by something. Boop, boop, boop. Oh hey, where's the nearest debris patch? Mine. People were expecting that. And what they got wasn't exactly the same as old. The Resurgence does not. this is like a thing I find with most mods, which I think is a good thing for the genre, but they're very direct with their instructions. They tell you what to do. The Resurgence, I feel like, would alienate half the player base of Mindustry. It's a lot more immersive in that it doesn't give you very direct instructions. I've had a huge focus on environmental design. I'm really proud of the sector, and I'm also aware that people may not like this gameplay style. And I took a leap of faith. I could have played it safe with Meld. And I want to get that out there. I could have just continued the alt campaign, but I got a bit ambitious, and I wanted to try something new. I had been waiting for a mech core unit to really make the scenes, and I was done waiting. I had the idea, I wanted to run with it. And I made this little goober with a recoil gun. And I'm not sure if people have seen the last SAS update, but I love this thing. I really love this thing. But people were complaining, or not even complaining, they were just giving feedback that sometimes the gun's too unresponsive. Me as the developer, having put literal hundreds of hours into controlling this thing, I didn't think it was unresponsive, but that's a difference of developer POV versus player POV, I guess. That's another thing you need to be aware of when designing a mod. I did not think that this was unresponsive. I think this is perfectly fine. But the people who are going to be playing your mod aren't going to be very familiar with your controls. If you introduce something new like this, people are going to be used to this. You know what this means to them? Or what I think it means, because honestly it means this to me if I was playing on the mods. Wow, that section looks cool. I know this is an over-exaggeration, but it's been something I've felt and talked to people about. They... okay, some people prefer air units, right? Some people in the modding scene prefer spiders. But, like, with spiders, you could still just skip this parkour section. You don't have this type of gameplay in regular Mindustry. And I took a leap of faith including this. I wanted to see where it goes, and this is why I haven't made the other campaign maps yet. I still know this is very experimental. I don't want to make an entire mod out of this, but I want to show this to the world. And I think it's an important lesson to learn that if you already have stuff out there, I'm using item source instead of Sonar Spy, so excuse that. If you already have stuff out there, people's expectations are going to linger the next time you make something. So, while you want the expectations to be like 0 if you completely revamp something, if you don't communicate that, this is a failure on my end to communicate, as well as something in the approach that I took to design the mod. If you don't communicate people's expectations should be down here instead of up here, and they still have the alt serve expectations, you're bound to alienate some of your player base. And people can adapt after a while, especially if you're willing to communicate. And I'm very thankful that people have given me feedback about this instead of staying silent. I'm very thankful for the community that's been in the modding forums. But if you don't communicate to people about your drastic shift in gameplay, and then you don't communicate to them, set your expectations down here, you're bound to have people like this who are going to be a bit annoyed, understandably, because they thought they were getting more of this, but they actually got this. And it's a mismatch of expectations. The two are not the same. And I think that's important to keep in mind when designing a mod by using like a testing environment for people before revamping your mod. You need to keep that in mind. I'm very thankful for the community in their feedback, and I'm currently changing Resurgence to be a bit more player-friendly, in that areas like this should be a bit easier to find. And especially, someone was having issues. They completed this entire area, didn't know where to go, and then saw this used to be open. I feel sorry for the guy, and I also understand the strife. I've closed it off now. I'm very thankful that 100 mistakes has taught me about this, because I don't want to cause people unnecessary frustration. I want them to explore. I don't want to frustrate them. But it's a difficult balance to hit. It's a very difficult balance to hit because you as the designer are going to think nothing about out of the way paths like this because you know that it's not going to be the way forward. People who are completely blind to what you've made may walk in, find something you're not supposed to go through, and not know what to expect from this because it's entirely new ground. They've already had their expectations from earlier shattered. They're like halfway through what you've made, and now they're like, oh, I guess I need to explore. And then they'll try doing some honestly absurd parkour to get to some point. Or I guess it may not be parkour in your mod's case, or your game's case. Hell, if a game developer's watching me, tell me. Because it'd just be funny. I don't know. Yeah, if someone sees this and they try and go through with it, they're gonna have a different perspective on it than you are. You're gonna know you can't make that jump. They're not gonna know that. Another important thing that I want to get out. Like, I know I mentioned it earlier, developer POV versus player POV can be really different sometimes. And key to that is just communication and accepting that sometimes you do have to change things if your general player base has different expectations. Sometimes you have to have a strong sense of what you want your thing to be. Other times, you have to make some sacrifices for the general player base. And knowing, not even knowing, but being able to navigate that, it's not gonna come to you naturally in the beginning. Because the paradox of it is, to even start to balance content, sometimes you have to have content to balance. And sometimes to design a sector, sometimes you have to have a sector to design. Which I know sounds really silly and very philosophical, but it makes sense once you've been in this position, and I hope this helped someone. Uh, yeah. Is there anything? I think there was one more thing I want to show. Yeah. Uh, I did go through a couple revisions for the new stuff, but things like this have slipped through. Doing bundle entries early can help the feel of a mod, but then you can get a bit of miscommunication, and this I'm going to be changing later. It Bulbhead does not have any special interactions with this. It's a scrapped interaction. And it's inevitable with in-dev projects that you're gonna have stuff slip through the cracks. You have to accept it, push on, and fix those mistakes when you can. I've completely forgotten to until now, honestly, and I thought it'd be a nice talking point to end this off with, just something small. And I think that's it. That's like, I guess Melt status update 2, the what the hell has been up with the new playtest version, if you've done it. Okay, I need to go sit down or something. Wait,